God. So life is a great thing. We all want to live. And when I hear David speaking here in the Psalms and saying, because thy love kindness is better to me than life, my lips shall praise thee, and I long to see thy power like I have seen it in thy sanctuary. My soul thirsts after thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. Now, when I began to think that, I thought there must be more than one meaning to life. Because what could be greater than life? Your life controls you. Your life makes you what you are. It operates your motives. And it's just you. And it controls you. If you got a good heart, good spirit, you have good life. You have an evil heart, evil thoughts, evil life. Like some years ago down in the South, they used, in the days of slavery, they used to take the human beings and sell them, the colored people, as slaves. And they would go to the big plantations, and they had brokers that would come by and buy up these slaves and for a certain amount of money and take them and sell them, make profit off of them, just like they do used cars or something today. Think of how evil that was, to take human life, to which Christ died for, and to sell it, make it a slave. God made man, man made slaves. And there was a certain broker came by an old plantation that had many slaves on it. And so the slaves were away from home. They were stole out of Africa and was brought over here and sold. And they know they'd never go back to the homeland no more. They were sad. They didn't want to work. They had no ambition. And so they would sometimes take whips and whip those people to make them work, just like you would a horse or an animal. And this slave buyer came by and he looked over his slaves to see how many he could buy. And he found there was one young fellow there. They didn't have to whip him. He had his chest out, his chin up. He was right up and at it all the time. And so the broker said to the owner, "Say, I would like to buy that slave." But the owner said, "He's not for sale." Well, said, what makes him so much different from the rest of the slaves? Said, perhaps maybe he's the boss. You've made him boss over the rest of them. And the owner said, "No, I never made him boss. He's just a slave." Well, said, maybe you feed him better than you feed the rest of the slaves. He said, "No, they all eat over there in the galley, all of them together." Then the broker said, "What makes this young fella so much different from the rest of them?" And the owner said, "I wondered about that for some time. But said, one day I found out over in the homeland where they came from, this young fellow's father is a king of the tribe. And though he's an alien and away from home, still he knows he's a king's son. And he conducts himself as a king's son. And I thought, if a slave being away from home, knowing that he was the son of a tribal king, how much more ought the children of God to conduct themselves like sons and daughters of God while we're in this alienated world? How we ought to embrace these promises of God. How we ought to cherish those things and hold them dear. It doesn't become a Christian to operate himself around unbelief. A Christian should have his chin up. He should be ready to believe anything that God says, no matter what it is. It'll keep the morale of the rest of them up. We are sons and daughters of God, and we ought to conduct ourselves like that. Some people think that life only lays in how much money you can get while you're here on earth. That's not life. And some of them has allotted it to pleasure. How much big time they can see. What company society they can join. Or what lodge or something they can do. They figure that that's life. If you could join the 400 or get in the book of Who's Who. So many people try to get into that book of Who's Who. My name will never be there. But I've got it on a better book, the book of life and glory, where God and God's Who's Who. I was born again one day. Then my name was put on God's Who's Who. And I know that sitting before us is a great dark chamber. And every time our heart beats, we get one beat closer to that chamber. And it's called death. And someday it'll take its last beat and I got to go in there. But there's one glorious hope that I have, that this, I know Him in the power of His resurrection, that when He calls, I'll come out from among the dead. That great day. I don't want to go like a coward. I want to wrap myself in the robes of His righteousness, entering in there knowing that I know Him as a personal experience and been born again of eternal life. If I never have a friend on earth, I want to know Him. If I don't know His Word too well, I want to know Him. Some time ago there was a fellow at Fort Wayne, Indiana, said to me, he said, Brother Branham, he was behind the stage at the Fort Wayne Gospel Tabernacle. He said, it's a shame your grammar. I said, I know it's awful. And I said, I didn't get an education. There's 10 of us children, and Dad died, and I had to take care of the other 9. And he said, that's no excuse. You're a man now. I said, but I'm so busy praying for the sick people. I don't have a time. He said, a man that would speak to the audience as you do and use the grammar you do. And he said, last night you said on the pulpit out there, you said, all you people coming up here to the pulpit. He said, those people will appreciate you more if you'd say pulpit. I said, brother, I don't believe that. Them people don't care whether I say pulpit or pulpit. So I live the life and preach the gospel and produce what God talks about in the power of His resurrection. That's what people are looking for, honest-hearted people. Just life. Some time ago I was in a large city in another nation, and we'd had a great meeting at a big ice arena. And that night when I was going into the hotel, there was a certain lodge in America here was having their big convention up there at this hotel. And that afternoon I never seen so many drunk people in my life hardly at one time. And so then when that night when I come home, there was just whiskey bottles all over everything, and they were just having themselves what they called a big time. It's too bad that America has sold out to such stuff as that, and it's the worst in the world. Now, I've just about traveled the world over, been in many nations several times, but where I believe they need missionaries worse than anywhere else in the world is the USA. That's exactly right. An educated heathen is harder to deal with than one that has no education, because he thinks he knows everything when he knows nothing. I don't mean to be rude, but I want to be honest. It's the truth. In Puerto Rico, a few days ago, we were staying at about a fourth-class hotel, because I don't believe that a Christian should have everything swanky. Jesus didn't even have a place to lay his head, and yet we have to drive Cadillacs to be spiritual. Why, there's something wrong. And there was an old man there that kind of hangs around with the Christian businessman. I don't know just what his name was. And we were over to another great hotel. Oh, it was a mammoth and a beautiful place. Hundreds of dollars to stay in that thing a week. And the old fellow's about 80 years old, a retired railroader. And there was the Puerto Rican people, normally looking people, dressed. Here come them